Now at 9, we continue our interview with a worker at the Tyson plant in Knoll, Missouri about prospects after the plant closes. Plus, a Baxter Springs man is voicing his frustration, saying he has to pay to repair his water meter after it was allegedly damaged by a tree service. And a local high school sports program announces it's changing conferences.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Tanya Bach. When the Tyson plant in Knoll, Missouri closes on Friday, 1,500 jobs in that area will be gone. The company is offering $1,000 for those who work until the very last day. And according to employees, they're not taking in consideration how long these people worked for the company. The employees who chose to stay to receive the compensation are now dealing with uncertainty about their future. KOAM's Fernanda Silva spoke to one of them to hear her story.
On October 13th, Yanet Gonzalez will be saying goodbye to the company she worked for the last 5 years. With limited English and a young daughter to take care of, Gonzalez is struggling to find a job that fit her needs.
I'll
have to take an employment, and we're very worried because I have diabetes. I need medication. It is very tough. It's horrible. While she's concerned about her challenges, her heart is also broken for her co-workers, who she often sees crying. They don't have anywhere to work because they left their lives there, bought their houses, have their cars, and many dreams they had. And now, with this that has happened to them, it's been really difficult for me to see them cry. According to her, the impact employees are feeling is also emotional and even physical. I had to witness one whose half of the face went numb because she's a single mother. Gonzalez says the situation is especially challenging for those who, unlike her, don't speak any English.
Many
don't speak anything, nothing. Most of the companies that have come ask if you finished high school here, if you speak English. In my experience, even speaking a little, I don't dare to go because I don't know English well. President of the McDonough County Chamber of Commerce believes Hispanics will have a better chance to find jobs than some other immigrant groups.
Those will be tougher jobs, or tougher jobs for them to fill. If they don't speak English, or usually Hispanic is okay because a lot of employers already handle. And so if you can't speak English but you speak Hispanic, you're probably fine. But if you're from Somalia or Burmese, those are not common languages. Islanders, it's a little more difficult to find those jobs with communication.
We also reached out to Tyson to understand how the company is supporting its employees. Tyson says that they are offering a $5,000 transfer bonus and up to $5,000 assistance for moving expenses for team members who physically move to another Tyson Foods facility. Tyson's spokesperson says that about 16% of the Knoll plant workforce plans to remain employed by the company. Even with the support the company says that they are offering for Gonzalez, the closure will put her biggest dream on hold. It was my dream to get my house. I was already making plans to buy my house, and it turns out, boom, it is over. In Neosho, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
According to Tyson, they have coordinated with outside employers and the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development to shared employment opportunities, unemployment assistance, and other support to employees. You can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com to watch and read the first part of this story. You can also find the questions we sent to Tyson Foods and the company's answers. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us with a first look at your forecast.
All right, thank you very much, Tanya. It was a beautiful day across the 4 states. Lots of sunshine, warm temperatures, especially for the middle part of October. We do have a big storm system that's organizing over the Rocky Mountains tonight, producing some severe weather in southeastern Wyoming earlier. Also some storms developing in northeastern Nebraska. As we go into the overnight hours, we're going to see mostly fair skies with temperatures dropping through the 60s to about 61 degrees by morning, and sending the kids off to the bus stop looking at about 62 degrees with partly cloudy skies. And then as they come home in the afternoon, a little bit more in the way of cloudiness, also very windy, with a temperature of around 78 degrees. And those winds are going to be picking up as we go through the overnight hours into tomorrow, with gusts approaching 35 to 40 miles per hour, especially up in the northwestern sections by tomorrow afternoon. So definitely a windy day. And looking down the lane, we're going to see windy conditions tonight and tomorrow, with thunderstorms developing tomorrow night, a cooler Friday, and a chilly weekend. And I'll tell you more about that in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Sam. A Knoll, Missouri man is sentenced after pleading guilty to child sex crimes. Authorities say in July of last year, 60-year-old Gregory Elmore was caught trying to rape a child he was related to by the child's father. Yesterday, Elmore pleaded guilty to attempted statutory rape of a child under 14 years old. He is sentenced to 15 years in prison. Pittsburgh's mayor today delivered the 2023 State of the City Address. The free event brought out the community for a morning of networking, breakfast, and a short program. The mayor shared Pittsburgh's accomplishments in 2023, as well as a look ahead. He says the event served as a way to connect with the community.
Everybody should interact with their community in some form or other. Don't ask me why I'm doing this at my age and after 2 careers. It's because I want to do something. I've got it. I love people. I love to be around people. I like to solve problems.
The address happened at Pittsburgh's Memorial Auditorium. Well, Baxter Springs man is stuck with a bill for damage he says he did not cause. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has the story.
After receiving a water bill higher than usual from the city, William Mortel was notified that his water meter was damaged. Then he started connecting the dots.
My neighbor and I were recollecting of when the tree service was back here, and they had to get in through the alley to get to where they were, because they came in to the yard up to this tree. Like, there's literally no way you could avoid that meter.
Mortel was billed $200 to repair the meter, but he thought Right Tree Service would take accountability since the meter was working before they worked on the property. Mortel says the company was contracted by Liberty to cut branches around the power lines.
I came home from work one day and I saw the tree service was back here examining it. So I came back here to talk to them, and they're like, yeah, that's not from our trucks. If we ran that over, we would have crushed it. I'm like, well, it's crushed. So
You're already dealing with increased rates, and now you have a $200 bill for something you didn't do. It's frustrating, to say the least.
pretty much just passed me off and say, that's not our responsibility, it's the tree people. I called the tree people. They said, that's not our responsibility, we didn't do it. So, like, I'm just stuck with the invoice, and that's not fair. Like, if I ran over their meter, I would be expected to pay for it.
Mortel says he's understanding, but believes someone else's mistake shouldn't be on his dime. Reporting in Baxter Springs, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
We reached out to Liberty Utilities and Right Tree Service for a statement, but we have not received a response. Fuzzy's Taco Shop in Joplin has closed up, seemingly permanently. Customers went to the shop today expecting it to be open like normal, but they were met with a sign at the door that reads in part, Fuzzy's Taco Shop Joplin is closed. We apologize for the inconvenience. Google lists the business as permanently closed. Numerous people were seen removing items from the building and loading them into SUVs and U-Haul trailers. Environmentalists and government officials gathered today at NEO A&M College in Miami. That's the site of the 25th National Environmental Conference. It was chosen because of its proximity to the Tar Creek Superfund site. Officials were able to give updates on cleanup projects in the area, including Tar Creek and Pitcher, as well as how Miami is fighting flooding.
To highlight and explain and explore the environmental challenges that we face and the environmental justice challenges that we face in northeastern Oklahoma.
People who are currently taking part in the cleanup efforts and those who have retired were able to share personal stories about those efforts. Coming up, what a new study shows about the deadliness of non-melanoma skin cancers compared to melanoma. Non-melanoma skin cancer is killing more people than melanoma. And that's according to a study presented at the European Academy of Dermatology and Venereology. Though melanoma is more deadly, non-melanoma is significantly more prevalent, causing 78% of all skin cancers. Using data from the World Health Organization, researchers found in 2020 More than 63,000 deaths were from non-melanoma skin cancer, and 57,000 were from melanoma. A new report shows phenomenon linked to climate change can strain the mental health of young people. The report is from an environmental advocacy group called America and the American Psychiatric Association. It points to extreme heat, poor air quality, and natural disasters. The study shows they can make young people worry about the future and give them PTSD. It also says they might cause issues like anxiety, depression, aggression, and more. Two popular herbicides and the insect repellent DEET are linked to worse brain function among adolescents. That's according to USC San Diego researchers. They looked at 500 children ages 11 to 17 living in Ecuador, an agricultural county where many are exposed to DEET, glyphosate, and 2,4-D. Children with higher amounts of chemicals in their body had lower attention and inhibitory control and lower memory, learning, and language performance. Meteorologist Sam Lane is next with a complete look at your forecast, and later how a change in conferences will impact travel times for Carl Junction sports programs.
Well, it was another gorgeous day across the 4 states. Lots of sunshine, warm temperatures, certainly warm for early October. Right now, let's take a look outside at Seneca, Missouri, at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Things are looking pretty nice, a little bit breezy out there, and those winds are going to be with us through the overnight hours into tomorrow. We made it up to 81 today, which was well above the normal of 73, but only 10 degrees from the record set just 3 years ago. 63 the low, of course that was way above normal of 50 at this time of year. Radars are clear right now, but that's going to be changing over the next 36 hours or so. Temperatures are very pleasant. Pick out your hometown, 65 in Monette, 64 in Cassville, one of the coolest readings. Meanwhile, it's still in the lower 70s out to the west, like Sedan, Independence, and Neodesha, as well as Yates Center, all checking in with 72 degrees on those south winds. Dew points are starting to increase just a little bit. Right now we're looking at dew points by tomorrow to be in the 50s, especially upper 50s and lower 60s out to the west, ahead of that dry line. Then that dry line will sweep through, and that will lower our dew points down into the 40s and even some 30s out in central Kansas. Rain chances are going to be low for at least a little bit longer, and then as we head into the overnight hours tomorrow night, that's when the rain chances really start to pick up across our area. Now, not everybody's going to get rain, but some areas will get a little thunderstorm activity tomorrow night. Temperatures tonight are going to drop through the 60s on those south winds, gusty at times, and then tomorrow morning we're going to see temperatures rising up into the 70s by afternoon, mid to upper 70s, even maybe a few 80-degree readings, especially down in Oklahoma. Strong south winds. Then here comes the dry line sweeping through, and then those thunderstorms will be developing along that dry line and will be moving through the metro area at about midnight, and then that will sweep through, and then here comes the cold front behind it with temperatures dropping into the 50s, and then by afternoon we're going to see temperatures only in the lower 60s across the area with westerly winds, and then the really chilly air starts to filter in as we go into Saturday, and by Saturday morning we'll see lows generally right around 50 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Here's the big storm system tonight. It's going to pull out into the plains, and as it does, we are expecting severe weather to develop to the north and west of us in southeastern Nebraska and northeastern Kansas. Then that front will slide through the area, and then here comes the chilly air right behind it as we go in towards the weekend. Here's the threat of severe weather. Again, is going to be mainly up to the north and west from Emporia northward up into southeastern Nebraska, but we'll keep an eye on it in case things get out of hand. Rainfall amounts are not expected to be all that impressive with this system, generally around 1/10 of an inch or less, and on the European model, maybe a little bit more, so around 1/4 of an inch would be a likely rainfall amount. Here's the 7-day forecast for you. Windy tomorrow with a high of 80. Then on Friday, dropping to 70 with cooler conditions, and then even cooler on Saturday with a high of only 59. And then as we go into next week, still below normal with temperatures only in the 60s and lows in the 40s with the chance of showers midweek.
It's going to be a chilly weekend.
A chilly weekend. Definitely going to need the sweater and jackets this weekend.
Big change from tomorrow to this weekend. All right. Thanks, Sam. Well, coming up, taking on hidden fees.
If you hate junk fees, have we got a story for you? I'm Caroline Shively in Washington. I'll have details straight ahead.
Google is looking to make your passwords obsolete. Instead, the company wants you to create passkeys to unlock accounts and devices, like using a fingerprint, face scan, or PIN number. Google says passkeys are easier to remember, quicker to use, and also more secure. It also says the technology will now become the go-to option during password creation. Users can still dodge passkeys altogether and keep their passwords if they want. I always forget mine, so I'm all for that. President Biden is pledging to fight so-called junk fees. Those are fees added to concert tickets and hotel stays that are legal, but nickel and dime consumers to the tune of billions each year. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively reports from Washington.
The Biden administration is going after junk fees. Those extra charges added onto flights, vacation rentals, and concert tickets that somehow sneak onto the bill, jacking up what you thought you'd pay based on the advertised price.
The junk fees are borderline fraud.
The president announced a proposed rule on Wednesday that would require businesses disclose mandatory fees up front and tell banks not to overcharge customers for basic information like checking an account balance.
Some banks charge as much as $30 for these services every time you call. It's outrageous.
The White House frames the move as delivering on a promise to help lower costs for average Americans. Recent polls show so far, voters aren't convinced. A Fox News poll last month found that 53% believe the Biden administration's actions on inflation are hurting the economy, up 13 points from April. Also announced Wednesday, wholesale inflation rose 0.5% in September. That's more than expected and could play into future Fed decisions on interest rates.
The Fed's really got quite a pickle on their hands.
Next up, the Consumer Price Index will be released on Thursday. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Up next, we'll learn why video game icons Mario and Luigi were at Anderson Elementary in McDonald County. Students at an elementary school in McDonald County had a special treat in the lunch line. Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach served up today's meal at Anderson Elementary. It's part of Level Up with School Lunch, a week-long celebration of the importance of school lunches and providing kids with nutritious food. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. The Joplin Humane Society offers lowered adoption fees during Adopt a Dog Month. Plus, we take a tour through the Parsons Historical Museum with a psychic medium. It's Adopt a Dog Month at the Joplin Humane Society, so they're offering lowered adoption fees. This comes as the shelter hits critical capacity. KOAM's Miranda Burton has more.
Through October 15th, approved pet lovers can adopt for just $25. Not only is this special timely for Adopt a Dog Month, it's also a necessary measure as their numbers have increased.
We have been full as long as I can remember this year. There's been times in the past where it's like, oh, we're doing good, making some progress, and then next thing you know, it's packed, but we haven't seemed to have had any sort of break yet this year.
While it is often a struggle to get animals adopted, some people adopt and keep coming back for more. Volunteer Savannah Fisher has adopted a cat, Bentley, and 2 dogs, Spunker Baby and Monkey.
Was a foster fail, and now he lives with us, and he goes hiking and camping and a big adventure pup. And then we also have Monkey, and he does the same thing.
Other volunteers told a similar story to Fisher's, but they are still encouraging others to foster or adopt, and not just dogs.
It's just a rewarding experience for people to foster. I know a lot of foster fails, a lot of people do little kittens and they wind up adopting them, and that's great. And it frees up space here at the shelter for another cat to take that spot.
The Humane Society asks community members to consider ways they can help without having to take pets home.
They can definitely come out and help us socialize the animals here. We're always in need of supplies, so everything that you might use at home for your pets, we can use it here.
Supplies they regularly need are dry and wet food, bowls, collars, and leashes. Reporting from Joplin, Missouri, this is Miranda Burton with KOAM News.
Many animals that end up at the Humane Society are lost but loved pets, and the Humane Society reminds owners to microchip their pets and make sure the information is current. Ozark Christian College in Joplin is acquiring a university in Illinois. The presidents of both OCC and Lincoln Christian University made the announcement today. LCU's president says the decision was made because that university is no longer able to operate independently. LCU will no longer operate academically. Instead, students in some of its programs will be transferred to OCC. Others will be transferred elsewhere. Well, Pittsburgh residents had a chance to meet the candidates running for the district's Board of Education. Root Coffee House hosted the event in partnership with the Pittsburgh Education Association. One resident we spoke to said keeping teachers around was a big priority for him.
I think the main thing is retaining our teachers, making sure our teachers are supported, they have the resources they need, that they're paid adequately, making sure our students have the resources that they need to be successful. There's no reason why we should have this amazing university here in town, and we have all these amazing kids graduating with education degrees, and yet all school systems aren't the first place they're applying. So making sure everyone's got the support they need, that's probably one of my biggest reasons.
Root Coffee House is hosting another public meeting between residents and candidates. That one will be on October 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. Well, students at Pitt State had a chance to conduct a crime scene investigation, at least a simulated one. Criminal forensics class instructor Chris Bakke is collaborating with Pitt State Police and Public Safety to design and run the simulation. The simulation adds realistic components such as a crime scene perimeter. And one priority is that students process the scene in the time they're given.
No, so now that evidence is what's going to help determine and give us a clearer picture as far as what happened, right? So that's going to be sent off to the lab, and then the lab is going to come back with our results and hopefully give the investigators a more conclusive idea as far as what happened.
Simulation happened on the north side of PSU's Russ Hall. Well, this weekend, the Parsons Historical Museum is hosting its second annual Night at the Museum fundraiser. The featured guest for the event is psychic medium Julie Kellogg. Now, I took a tour of the museum with Kellogg, and this is what she found.
If history could talk, you'd never get a word in at the Parsons Historical Museum.
So much to see. I mean, it's one of those places you can't just come and spend an hour.
Jonna Gabbard is on the Parsons Museum Board. She's part of the team that's working to catalog the thousands of items the museum has to offer. Items that each have a story to tell.
I'm the medium space. I'm the messenger.
Enter psychic medium Julie Kellogg.
And see, some of the things like these, I didn't know what was here, and I just brushed against this, and I can feel the energy from these jackets. I think they're military or something.
Kellogg realized she had a unique ability when she was about 8 years old.
I started then paying attention to when I felt something, or I saw something, or I heard something.
She can see dead people and even talk to them.
Are you noticing any spirits as we move through the museum?
Actually, I just heard I don't know if you noticed, I paused for a moment. When we were talking, I heard a lady say, "My baby's things are here." And I feel like it's these shoes. I don't know if there's any identification on that, but like this baby didn't make it. So that's the sadness I feel, and sorry. Sometimes when they come through, I feel that, and I get a little emotional. I can't imagine what it'd be like to lose a child.
From a story of sadness stemming from a pair of baby shoes to a terrifying story that led to an advance in X-ray technology.
In the beginning stages of this, I just saw person after person, they're trying to do X-rays on them, but it literally cooked them on the inside. And that's kind of a creepy, gross thing to say, but it's and I see those things. So I see these people and I see them like the inside of them is just burnt up. And there might be just like a little spot on the outside, but inside, it just changed everything for them.
A painful but important piece of history in a museum filled with stories.
I kind of think of it of like an antique store where you got to go in and you got to look up, down, and left and right to see everything because there's so many layers.
Layers Gabbard says are waiting to be discovered and hopefully never forgotten.
Well, this weekend's event is sold out, but you can find a link to Kellogg's website on ours at KOAMnewsnow.com. In the article, Julie also shows us how to protect yourself from unwanted spirits this Halloween season. Well, a bit later, an extraterrestrial reveal.
NASA scientists say they've gotten a peek into the building blocks of our solar system thanks to asteroid samples collected in space. I'm Garrett Tenney with this story coming up.
Well, it was another warm one across the 4 states with temperatures in the 80s in many locations and also a little bit breezy. Let's start out this morning though at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. As we go through the day, you can see mostly fair skies, just a few clouds passing by, and then mid-afternoon some mid-level stratocumulus, and then we were left with some altocumulus this evening. A beautiful sunset across the area. 81 was what we made it up to today after starting out at 63, and of course both of those are well above the normals of 73 and 50. And we're still way behind on the rainfall, getting to about 11 inches behind so far. There is some rain on the radar, but it's way up to the north in northeastern Nebraska and also northwestern Kansas. That's part of the next storm system that's developing that will be impacting our area tomorrow night. But in the meantime, we're going to be seeing temperatures pretty mild. 60s right now, even some 70s out towards the west, like in Independence. In Neodesha with 71 right now. And looking at the rainfall chances, it's going to be pretty close to zero through most of the day, but then picking up as we go into the overnight hours. That's when we think the best chance of showers and storms are going to be. So breaking it down for you, we're going to see temperatures dropping into the low 60s tonight with strong south winds and a few clouds. And then as we go through the day, we're going to see temperatures rebounding into the upper 70s, maybe even touching 80 down to the south, strong south winds. And then here comes the dry line, and that dry line is going to spark off a few thunderstorms ahead of it. Not everybody's going to get a storm, but where it does form and move off towards the north and east, some of those could be strong, so we'll keep an eye on that. Then a cold front will be sweeping in from the west, and once that sweeps through, the rain will start to end from west to east with temperatures dropping into the 50s by mid-morning. And then in the afternoon, temperatures only rebounding into the mid-60s, and then the clouds will still rotate around as we go into Saturday morning, which could have an impact on the eclipse, and I'll show you that in a moment, with temperatures around 50 degrees. Here's the storm system right now. It's over the Rocky Mountains. It's going to pull out into the plains and drag this cold front through our area tomorrow night into Friday morning. Then that sweeps by, and then here comes the chilly air dropping down from Canada into our area. The severe weather risk is there, but it's going to be up towards the north and east, away from us, and that's pretty good news. Rainfall amounts are not going to be all that impressive, generally around 1/10 of an inch or less. Some of the models are indicating maybe 1/3 of an inch, so we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. But right now, it doesn't look like a big system for the area. Temperatures are going to be 80 degrees tomorrow, 70 on Friday, and then much cooler for the weekend. Look at that, highs only in the 50s and lows in the 40s with a chance of showers returning midweek next week. And here's a look at the eclipse information. It's going to start at about 10:35 in the morning, and the conditions are expected to be good. Then as we go through the maximum part of the eclipse, the visibility may start to decrease a little bit because of cloud cover. And then by the end of the eclipse, we're probably going to be socked in with clouds. So the best chance to see the eclipse is probably going to be down in Oklahoma.
Oh, man.
But we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed.
Looking for a clear day on
Yes.
Saturday, at least
Yes.
in the morning when we need that.
Right.
All right, thanks, Sam. Well, coming up in sports, Carl Junction High School announces its plan to leave the Central Ozark Conference. John Dale sat down with the Bulldogs athletic director to discuss the move. That story and more up next.
Carl Junction's time as a member of the Central Ozark Conference is coming to a close. The high school announces today it'll be leaving to form a new league with 5 other schools known as the Ozark Mountain Conference. Now, that includes another current member of the COC, Branson, along with Bolivar, Logan, Rogersville, and Marshfield, and West Plains. Now, Carl Junction's president of the Board of Education, Larry Cowger, says in a release that this move to the new conference will be, quote, better for our student athletes, giving them the opportunity to compete with schools our size. Athletic Director Rich Neria says that level of competition is a big factor as well.
There's no doubt when it's not real competitive and you look at the numbers are sometimes mind-boggling, that you realize, hey, we're going up against schools with, 5, 6, 7, 800, 1,000 more kids than we have. It's tough. Sometimes it's tough to put your kids in that spot.
Now, one of the primary thoughts that most people have after seeing this realignment is how far away the other conference members are from Carl Junction. Now, here's a look at the breakdown of distances on your screen right now. The closest school is an hour and a half away. That's Logan Rogersville. Meanwhile, the farthest travel is going to West Plains, which is 180 miles. That's 3 hours each way in the car or school bus. Playoff softball nearly here. Tomorrow, Missouri high schools begin district playoffs with several of our local teams in the same tournaments. Beginning with Class 4 District 7, that tournament taking place up in Nevada. The Tigers are the #1 overall seed. They play a quarterfinal at noon against Raytown South. If Nevada wins, it faces the winner between McDonald County and Carl Junction. Webb City is the 2 seed in that bracket. The Cardinals play at 7 tomorrow evening against Raytown. Both semifinals are on Saturday. Then to the Class 5 District 7 tournament, this one being held in Joplin. Joplin and Carthage see each other as Ray-Pec is the #1 seed. In the quarterfinals tomorrow evening at 7, Neosho plays Lee Summit at 5. The Wildcats enter having won 13 of their last 14. KOAM will have coverage throughout the weekend into Monday for this tournament as well. Now over to the MLB postseason. A year ago, the Phillies went on a crazy run to the World Series as a wild card team. Things looking pretty similar. This October, they win Game 3 of the NLDS tonight in convincing fashion, 10-2 over the Braves. But back to that Carl Junction story, pretty crazy for a lot of the folks near this area that you're moving to a conference where, yeah, the schools are a little bit closer in size to you, but a little bit further away in distance.
I can't imagine going 6 hours in one day for a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have dedicated parents,
That's
and
the
it
way
will
that
happen.
works.
And,
Yeah.
whatever's best for the kids.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that's the main focus of the Carl Junction administrators that I talked to today, is saying that, look, we're going to go where we need to go to play against teams that are competitive with us.
All right, sounds like a plan. We'll back with more news after this. NASA scientists are describing it as a time capsule to our ancient solar system. Samples from an asteroid millions of miles away were unveiled in Texas today. They were collected during a 7-year asteroid mining mission. Fox News correspondent Garrett Tenney has the story.
You ready to see the results of the mission?
An unveiling 7 years in the making at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. NASA showing off its first asteroid samples Wednesday, nearly a month after it was parachuted into the Utah desert by the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft. This ancient black dust and chunks of particles were collected by the spacecraft 3 years ago off the carbon-rich asteroid Bennu, almost 60 million miles away from Earth.
This is the biggest carbon-rich asteroid sample ever returned to Earth.
Scientists are calling the sample a scientific treasure trove. Besides carbon, the asteroid rubble also holds water in the form of water-bearing clay minerals. NASA believes these minerals may have landed on Earth 4 billion years ago, creating the world we know today.
That is how we think water got to the Earth. The reason that Earth is a habitable world, that we have oceans and lakes and rivers.
It's important to note all these findings come from the cover of the sample chamber only. NASA says it still hasn't even opened the capsule where the actual samples were collected. It plans to analyze all the materials over the next 2 years in a dedicated clean room inside the Johnson Space Center.
This mission will help our scientists investigate planet formation for generations to come.
Part of the samples collected will be divided up and sent to science labs around the world, but 70% of it will be sent to storage for future generations with better technology to study. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
Well, coming up, we'll meet an 8-year-old boy who loves Halloween so much he saved up all his money from over the summer to buy decorations. Halloween is around the corner, and one young man in Detroit with a medical condition has been saving his money and getting ready since the summer. Will Jones reports.
Hey Kingston, how are your inflatables today?
8-year-old Kingston Hosang loves Halloween.
We would go around surrounding neighborhoods and just check out different displays.
Last year, Jolene Hosang and her husband promised Kingston if he saved up his money, he could put up a Halloween display at their home on Detroit's west side this year.
I was just surprised how fanatical he was about it because, you know, at one point my husband was just like, oh, we're going to have another inflatable meeting.
By summer, he was ready to go, saving up $345.
I had so much money. We were going to Home Depot literally every week checking to see if they were selling any of the Halloween decorations.
Neighbors took notice as his Halloween display started taking shape in August.
I was certain that they would just be irritated or annoyed at the fact that it was up in the month of August. How are they annoyed? Just because it's not even the month that we're celebrating Halloween. Halloween is in what month? October.
Every morning, Kingston makes sure everything is in working order.
I think it ended like this.
Oh, okay. You make sure that they don't fall over?
Yeah.
Making for a memorable Halloween for Kingston, who can't take part in some traditions of the holiday because he's unable to swallow.
Usually when Kingston goes trick-or-treating, right, typically he just gets candy, of which he can't ever eat. And so this allows him to continue to enjoy Halloween on his own terms. I want to feel happy.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with video of Halloween decorations at a home on West 12th Street in Webb City. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.